Welcome back to Surviving in the Wild. This episode is going to be about school, all about school, and we're going to have Emily and we're going to have Kirsty on to chat to what it's like to support people in school, how you can get support in school, and why it might be quite difficult for young people at the moment with their mental health around education and things like that. But if you don't want to listen to the whole episode, you don't have to. You can get different points of the video and understand different aspects of it yourself. But also, you can also just click on the link tree or the link in bio below. That link will help you get to the right support and services in your area, whether you're struggling or whether your friend might be. So that's why it's there. But other than that, if you're here to tune in for the whole episode, enjoy.
I'm really fussy with tea though, because I only like Tetley. I'm from Manchester, so everyone gets all like, "Oh, you like your tea?" And I know.
Yeah.
Tetley.
I just like tea.
Just all of it.
I literally couldn't care less what tea it is. Like, I don't mind 80p tea from like own brand Lidl. Like, absolutely fine by me.
No, I discovered like when I sort of turned 20 that nobody offers you any other drink. You just get offered tea and coffee or water. So I decided I'm going to like one of them and just commit to it.
And you've gone for coffee?
Yeah, I don't actually think I've ever drank a cup of tea.
What?
I just know I don't like it.
That's weird. You get juice in our house as well, because I drink Vimto by the ton, because, you know.
Oh,
Vimto girl.
I love squash. Like,
I like squash, but Vimto's too much for me.
what is your favourite squash?
Cherries and berries.
Cherries and berries.
Vimto. Hands
Vimto.
down. Literally, hands down. Drink
Just like an
massive bottles of it a week.
An own brandy cherries and berries is a treat.
My dentist proper hates me. Like, well, I say my dentist hates me. I don't even have a dentist anymore because mine went private. I was like, oh well,
Yeah.
looks like I don't have a dentist anymore. Check in. How are you guys doing? What's going on in life?
Good.
Obviously, you've just been on holiday. You've got more exciting stories than I have.
Yeah.
So what did you do in Bucharest?
So we went on the Wednesday. We flew. It's a 3.5-hour flight. It's a really long way. I did not know this. But I went because it was my birthday.
Oh, nice. Happy birthday.
Thank you. I turned 32. It's also been Kirsty's birthday, much more recently than mine, but only by a week.
Yeah. I was trying to think, when was my birthday? Yeah, it's last Sunday. That's when it was.
So yeah, we flew. We went to go find our, like, it's not an Airbnb, but that sort of vibe, down a very sketchy corridor, and like the worst lift I've ever been in my life. It's like, you have to close the door yourself.
Yeah.
And then we went to the thermos bar that's been all over.
Oh, is it like the similar ones that are in like Budapest? Like,
It's like you go in and there's like a big pool with like a swim up bar and like a revolving door to outside and things, and then there's a bit with water slides, a bit with saunas.
Nice.
But it was a bit of I say spontaneous trip. We booked it like with a couple of months in advance. I feel like it's quite spontaneous.
That's pretty spontaneous for me. Like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing like tomorrow half the time, but that doesn't mean I'm spontaneous. It means I'm predictable. Welcome back to Surviving in the Wild. I don't know how much of that's going to be included. Probably little to none. But today on the I'm so used to saying today on the podcast rather than on the YouTube video. In terms of, we have got Emily.
Hello.
And we have got Kirsty.
Hello.
And basically, as one of the episodes of this sort of like YouTube channel, we're going to talk all about school and the impact of it and how it can be hard, and also the ways in which you can manage like the things that we can potentially help to get through. So basically, these guys both work in what is called the Wellbeing in Mind team.
Yep.
But before we get on to what they do, if you don't want to listen to us, completely okay. You can go click on the links below and you can go find what support is in sort of your area, if you're living in North Yorkshire and or Humber. And then if you don't live in either of them areas, there is National Services and our Lived Experience podcast where you can learn a little bit more about that as well. What do you guys do? What is the Wellbeing in Mind team? Just so people know who we're talking to today.
Essentially, sort of previous government sort of noticed there was a gap in services. So there's always been this kind of sort of, you're not poorly enough for CAMHS, but then there's nothing else in between. So they were starting to notice the impact of it. So Green Paper was created what they call mental health support teams. So they're school-based mental health support teams. The plan is that 100% of schools will be covered at some point.
So what would your roles actually be? What do you do? Like, what's your day-to-day? Obviously, this is going to be probably, who knows,
So
half the time.
The theory behind the mental health support teams, or the MHSTs, there's lots of acronyms that we end up using, is they have created educational mental health practitioners, EMHPs, which is what me and Kirsty do. The theory is to do a third, a third, a third.
Right, okay.
1/3 is called consultation. So that's giving teachers, staff in schools an opportunity to talk through either different issues within their year groups, within their schools, or within individuals. And from there, we might signpost, we might work with them directly, or we might do something called a formal consultation, where we get the parents in when we hear the voices of everyone, so we're all on the same page. A second third is the direct work we do, which is low intensity cognitive behavioural therapy. So we do
Let's take my jump from. Right, sorry.
Oh no, so we do low intensity cognitive behavioural therapy, which is that really early intervention stuff that Kirsty was mentioning, getting in there before they sort of need to go to CAMS, sort of giving them that toolkit, that support kit, to help them with their mental health.
Right.
It's quite a prescriptive thing, cognitive behavioural therapy, that's very much like, this is what we do, session 1, session 2, session 3.
Okay.
And it tends to be 6 to 8 sessions, so it works for some young people, but other people it might not be the most appropriate support, hence why we do the consultation and signposting.
Right, okay.
And our third is whole school approach, or WSA. This is where we try and hit the whole school.
Gotta get it in.
This is why we try and hit the whole school population, whether it's things like assemblies, group works, doing information stands and stalls, helping schools with mental health wellbeing campaigns. You know, it's sort of doing what we can within a school to sort of get those who either aren't comfortable about sharing their mental health yet, who, you know, are hearing things on the internet and just curious about things. And so, yeah, in theory it is meant to be a third, a third, a third, but in certain schools it might be more heavy one way. And
Right, okay.
But I think that whole school approach bit is one, not the most important, but it's the preventative stuff. So the early intervention and prevention is our aim, and just some of those things and assemblies of just a couple of ways to manage things that you know, people might not have heard before, can be really, really helpful to them in that kind of like underpinning the sort of message of well-being.
Because that's what we're going to kind of come on to. Like, you guys, whoever's watching, might not be interested in actually the like different elements of it, but actually know that school is quite tough. And so we're going to talk about different elements of that, but also how you manage. Okay, so I was looking at some different statistics of different things. And post-COVID, sorry for using the C word, like attendance has gone from 4% in terms of absence to like 8%. That's like double what in like 5 years. Do you think like that's because school's getting harder for young people, or?
Yeah, it's a bit. I think it's a bit of both. I think that it was when we were in lockdown, it was a world that none of us had really experienced before, in this kind of, well, I don't have to go into work every day, I don't have to go into school every day. And I think for young people who may have been struggling a bit, or they struggle to sort of get back to, you know, the normality of non-COVID times, there is a bit, well, if I could do it at home then, why can't I do it now? If I'm struggling being in school, in the environment with the pressures that are there, why can't I use that alternative anymore? And I think that's probably played quite a big part into it. And
why do you think school is so hard for them, like for a lot of young people?
I think it's hard for different children in different ways. It's hard to just say like one particular thing, because some children it is the sort of expectations that are going on in schools. There's sort of certain rules, certain policies that they might not understand, or they might not get. Sort of things like uniform can be quite a particular grievance for some people. Others, it's been around lots of people, sort of with, you know, being solitary at home in your own family unit for a long time, to then be around hundreds of people who are varying states of wanting to be there themselves.
You don't know how half these people are going to react.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I always like, I look back to it now, like in terms of, so I was in school. Do I give it away how old I am?
I'll have been there a lot longer ago than you, I can guarantee that.
So I left in 2016. So, and because I was off during school, I found it really, really hard. Like, so I was during sixth form, I took some time away, and I'm not going to cover it on every single podcast episode of this, but basically, yeah. So I was off for 3 months because I felt like the pressure and the environment of it, and that actually I look back now and I go, do you know what? I think it was just the stress of so many people and around all the time. I didn't know who I sort of was. I was stressed about exams coming up, A-levels, different aspects. But then there's the aspect of just how loud it can be and how busy it can be for quite a long period of time. Do you find that young people are struggling with that sort of like sensory sort of stuff in school a lot?
Yeah, and I think, like I said, there's sort of two sides. There is that kind of academic pressure, and that if I'm not good enough, and all those kind of things that sort of bring worries in. But yeah, equally the environment. I mean, I'm not particularly tall. I'm 5'0", and even as a a grown adult allegedly, I can find it quite intimidating walking around the corridors of a school, especially if you've got big sixth form lads and year 11 lads who can all be a bit like, woo. It can be really daunting. And then, like say, things like having bells that go off in a lot of the primary schools, because I've come from a secondary background, and a lot of the primary schools, it's like, oh, they don't have bells at all. They just seem to all know what time things happen. And so those things, and being in a classroom, if you've got, like Emily was saying, teachers trying to firefight behaviour, I mean, I'm totally all behaviour is communication. There's a reason that's happening. But if you are a quieter child who's quite anxious and nervous of the noise and the, I say kerfuffle, I love that word.
Yeah. I mean, it's accurate, isn't it? There is a lot of kerfuffle. Like there's 30 odd people in a room all at once.
And it gets missed and that kind of, So there's a lot of environmental factors, I think, as well. And just equally, they're having to travel around, especially if you're thinking about this time of year of year sixes that are looking at transitioning up to secondary, it's a huge place to be wandering around and finding your way around. And
you think about the young person's circle of control, there's very little throughout the school day that they have empowerment behind, that they have to go to their lessons, they have to sit and listen, they have to wear what they wear. Lunch is here, this is who you're going to be sat with.
This is your timetable for the whole year.
Yeah.
Good luck.
You sit in this seat not particularly next to someone you like or enjoy, Do
you think, and then, like, I don't know, do you think schools got harder? Just for the record, for people who are watching, like, these videos, I've always said, like, are getting checked by like other clinicians to make sure that what we're putting out there is fact. But it doesn't mean that our opinions and what we think about things can't come into it. Like, we're all human. We all have a frame of reference. We all have a way of understanding things. And so my way of understanding is going to be very much from my experience of school. Like the only time I go to school now is when I'm doing assemblies. But, so there is.
I want to say someone who does. I mean, I didn't particularly enjoy the school environment when I was at school, but I just say I left school quite a long time ago, and it's very direct. Sort of going back into it, working there, because I did a lot of stuff before I went into education. I definitely noticed a change. Things were more difficult. There was a lot more sort of control around what. What you were learning, what was in lessons, all those kind of things. Yeah, and even just sort of, I think it's about, God, what were we on? Probably about 15, 16 years ago that I sort of went back into working in school. And then in the sort of 4 years of doing this, even from that time, those sort of 3 points of my life of being in it, it definitely feels like it's got harder. I think expectations around a lot of things, not only just sort of academic work and the kind of the worries and the pressure that's put on of, if you don't get this, then that, your life's going to be ruined and all these kind of things. But also the pressures on young people of growing up, the sort of, kids of 13, 14 are a lot more grown up, I think, than they were when, my 13, 14-year-old times. And
because I think the hardness has definitely changed. Whether it's gotten harder, because I think sort of parents relating to their children and their school experiences will be completely different. And even like from my parents to me to the young people I work with, we will have all had a very different experience of what school is. Because when I went to school, it was somewhat of an expectation to go to uni, that it wasn't particularly like everybody 100% is, whereas now it's, I feel like, a lot more these children just assume they're going to go to university, and my parents would have never assumed.
Yeah.
There's a lot of expectation behind that.
Okay, I want to talk a bit about stress and exams and pressure, because that was kind of one thing. Is there that sort of expectation? Because we're like, you get to year 6, you've got your SATs, then you get to year 9, then you have to start even year 8 potentially, start choosing what you do for your GCSEs. Then you've got your GCSEs, and then you've got your A levels, and then but all in between that, you've got your mocks, and then you've got your your progress reports, and then you've got your like parents' evenings
and revision sessions and after school revision, and like no, isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think it just keeps ramping up the levels of pressure on young people around. So they know it's important, they know they need to work for them.
What impact does that have on young people's mental health, in your experience?
I think there's a lot of build-up impact.
Okay.
And sometimes when it's over, it can either sort of, when you've taken away the thing, they can feel better, or sometimes it can be continuous. But I've recently done a year 6 SAT stress sort of lesson. And a lot of them seemingly quite chill about it, but then there are a lot of questions about, like, well, what if we do fail? Like, what's going to happen? And we're not going to go to secondary school. Like, what is the consequences of not doing well to the exams? Because you talk about doing, you've got to do your best, you've got to try, and just trying to get across that message, as long as you've tried your best. But that doesn't necessarily sort of cure their anxieties of just telling them. But the year 6s had pointed out they hadn't had their year 2 SATs, so whether year 2s should be having SATs in the first place. But they were like, we've never done anything like this before. And then there's quite a big gap until you do it again. So all you remember is like, I was quite stressed when I was in year 6. And therefore when I'm in year 10 and 11 and doing it all over again, and they say now there is that more expectation about going to university, going to apprenticeships, doing well, maybe doing more or better than what your parents have done in the past. Is a lot of outward pressure, and then with social media all talking about, like, oh, I've got into Oxford, oh, I've got this, I've got that. It's not realistic for all young people.
I think, sorry, I was going to say that it just reminded me of a jail. It's that kind of, in the olden days, it was like you have to get a C or a D, like C and above, that's a pass. Well, actually, anything above a U is actually technically a pass, but, that's what you need to get into college, and if you don't get that, you'll never get into college. And a student of mine I can't remember the exact way around it, but he was predicted something like an F or something in maths. I was a maths tutor, and he got 2 grades above that when he got his paper, and he was still, when his results are, and he was still devastated because I didn't get it. It was like, yeah, but you were never predicted C. If you were predicted a C and you got an A, how good would you be feeling right now? He said, yeah, well, that's what you've done. And I think that level of pressure we're putting on young people to achieve a certain standard when, some people just aren't as academic as other people, and that's absolutely fine. I was never someone who was particularly academic at school because I hated it.
Some of my cleverest mates at university, like my mate who does astrophysics and physics, and now has gone on to, I don't know what he does, I'm not even going to pretend like I know what he does. Like, had zero common sense, didn't know how to cook, didn't have any sort of practical ability at all, like, none of it. Like, and you know who you are if you're listening. Like, and it's like, and is that where then education is harsh, because we're almost pigeonholing people into academics?
Yeah. And that internal shame, I think, sometimes, of if you're not as clever as your friends in that way, and you get your marks and they're all, sharing on social media, they're telling everyone when they've opened the results, I've got like a 9, I've got a 9, and you're like, well, I'm at 6. Like, even though 6 is amazing for you, and you should only be comparing yourself to yourself, it's one of those things that's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah. How do we work with young people? How do you guys work with them? If a young person is, like, obviously very, very stressed, very, very under pressure, and there's a difference between, like, stress and mental health, but a lot of stress can impact your mental health.
Yeah.
Like, how do you kind of work with them young people who are really struggling with that sort of, like, thought processes of, I'm going to fail, I'm going to not get anything right, and that's starting to have a knock-on effect?
Yeah, so our main remit is low intensity cognitive behavioural therapy. So that's all about how thoughts, feelings and behaviours are all linked.
Okay.
And sometimes it can create that really negative cycle. So if your thoughts are, oh, I'm going to fail, I'm going to do really badly, you're probably going to be feeling really anxious, you're going to be feeling physically very sick. And then your behaviour might be, what's the point of trying? Not even going to revise. Or it could be the opposite of like, I'm not going to socialise anymore. I'm only going to revise. It's going to lead into more of that sort of all or nothing thinking. So in CBT, we look at trying to break that cycle, whether through changing of the thoughts or changing of the behaviours, because it's actually really hard to just decide to feel differently.
Just change how you're thinking.
Yeah,
there you go. Problem solved. But it's developing the skills to do that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of what we do.
What are them skills? Like, what are them sort of things that you would do?
You look at you because you look like you're about to say something really intelligent. So.
No one's ever given me that look.
As I say, there's lots of different things we do, and there's lots of different pathways we go down if we're doing that direct work. But there is things like looking at the unhelpful thinking styles. I think a lot of CBT is that knowledge is power. And if you are aware you're doing something, then you can think about how you're going to change it.
Okay.
Sort of if you know you're doing sort of all or nothing thinking, you can be like, right, well, what's in my in-between? Feel like life, or I'm going to succeed and do well. Well, what's in the middle?
Yeah.
Sort of trying to give them those tools and breathing exercises and mindfulness and distraction techniques to be able to get them to that point where they're not just spiralling.
And it's my favourite phrase, taking a thought to court.
Yeah.
Of that kind of way. I love it. Because I think just some people kind of, I don't know, naturally have the ability a bit more. I know it's not something I ever really had to do. I had to kind of learn to do it, but I didn't have a nice way of someone going, do this. I kind of muddled it through, but that kind of looking at things and going, okay, what's the evidence telling me that this thought is absolutely 100% true? What's the stuff that's telling me actually I might have it wrong? And that kind of weighing up what is fact, what is just my opinion, well, not just, but, what is my opinion, to then just create a more balanced way. And it's not about sort of, if it's, especially around exams and stuff that we're talking about, like, I'm going to fail everything. It's not about then going, I'm going to pass everything. It's about going, look, I'm trying my best. I'm going to do stuff. I might do better in some subjects than others, but, of just balancing it out. So we're not, I always say to young people, you wouldn't tolerate somebody standing in front of you going, you're going to fail everything, you're rubbish, so don't let your own thoughts do that. It's like my absolute, and any young person I have worked with would be like, oh, shut up, Kirsty. It's just because you think it doesn't make it true. And that is something, and I have to remind myself of that sometimes.
I should remind myself of that all the time.
Yeah. But as Kirsty, it is a lot of children, a lot of people think it's just something you're born with, but it is a skill, and it's something you can work on with practice. It's not easy. If it was easy, we'd all be doing it.
And you don't have to be the best at that as well.
Yeah. But just sort of practicing, like, is what I'm thinking fact,
Yeah.
Am I doing my breathing? Am I, have I given myself a break? Have I gone and seen my friends? Have I done something I enjoy that day?
And that balance, I think that's something we talk about as well, just in the terms of, you were saying earlier of going, well, I'm stressing, so I'm just going to revise like 24 hours a day and cram my head full of stuff.
It's not going to help.
It's not effective and it's not helpful. So that kind of thinking about, okay, what do I enjoy? Okay, if I'm going to do an hour of that, I'm going to make sure I go and do half. Even if it's, I'm going to play with my dog for a bit, I'm going to make a nice brew. I'm going to, whatever it is. Even go on social media for half an hour. Whatever it is you enjoy that makes you feel good and relaxed, keep doing it. You need to keep that balance in with stuff.
And no one's ever revised for 24 hours and got better at revising in that 24 hours.
Tactical revision, that's what it is. It's kind
better
of
hour.
like, what you're not very good at, so concentrate on that then, because even though that might feel really hard and overwhelming, if you kind of go, right, well, I'm just, if you get past papers or things like that, of going like, well, I actually got one more mark on that than the last time I tried to do that question. Brilliant. There you go, you've achieved something. Right, next time you might only, get 1.5 or 2, and it's that kind of building up the confidence in things rather than just looking at stuff going, I can't do it.
Do you think there is a benefit? Right. So, do you think there is almost learning how to fail?
Yeah.
Resilience.
Yeah, because I just think back to one of the episodes that we did of the podcast, plug, chat shit, where I talked to a lad called Gravesy, and he always talks about how he did fairly well in school, and he got to university, and he failed a module, and he's like, I struggled at times with my mental health before, but that failure made me go down into such a dark hole. Like, I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know what it was. And he was like, I wish I'd have failed earlier.
It's really important for them to just talk about it, because I remember I'm not always the most academic, and I felt like a lot of shame if my friends were all getting A and I'm like, I got a B. Like, yay, this is like my only B at GCSEs. But if I didn't do it, I'd just want to shut off. People, how do you do it? All right. And I wouldn't want to expand, but actually having the confidence to be able to talk about it then helps break the cycle of that fear of failure, because you really it's more likely you're afraid of other people's reactions.
Yeah, I was just going to say that you sort of like, oh, my mum's going to go mad at me, or this is going to, or my teacher's going to be. Well, how do you feel about it?
Yeah,
like, what's going on for you about it? That's where we want to.
Because I'm not going to get a job. Well, if you don't get a job, then what's the
What's the impact of it?
Of that? Like, oh well, other people know whatever. A lot of it is about the fear of other people. So if you just talk about it and open and honest about it.
Yeah.
And again, if some young person came and talked to us about it, would be a lot of that taking the thought to court. I would think of realistically, yes, it's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to feel everything you're feeling about it, but then what are we going to do about it?
I was just going to say, like, that sort of problem. So it's another thing, like the thought to court thing. It's stuff that, people just think people know how to do. Well, we don't all know how to actually problem solve our way through something. So in that, that kind of case of going, okay, so what are the options now? What are the things we can do? Well, what's going to be the best one for you? Okay, let's make a plan. How are we going to follow that? And bringing it back to things we can do, not focusing on what's gone wrong and the things we can't do and what we can't change.
I think that for me there's an element of as well, like comparing yourself, like putting your worth on a number or putting your worth on a sort of like grade. I remember when I first started working at York Mind and we were doing the podcast, and the podcast did really, really well for the first couple of months because it was something new and we like did a lot of promotion for it. And then there was a few episodes that didn't get as many listens as the other one. And I was starting to like really judge how well I was doing at my job based on how the website was doing or how the podcast was doing. And I was like, hang about, what am I doing here? Like, we've got to give people options. Like, this is the point that I can't decide whether somebody's going to listen to it one week. And because then I started looking at myself and going, actually, do I listen to every episode of, I don't know, Ed Gamble and James Acaster's podcast? No, I don't. I pick and choose depending on how much time I have. And I'm like, there are things outside of my control and I don't need to make whether or not we're doing well on that based on my mental health.
Yeah.
And I think that's like becomes a bit of a metaphor for school, is that actually, do you know what? You might not have done as well in that grade, but how are your friendships at the minute? Are they okay? Yeah. There is more to it than just your grade, like what your grades are, and this is somebody's. And I think that's what like my dad kind of instilled. Even though as a teacher at times, and there is that pressure, he was like, if the student can come into school and at the end of it they're a better person, then we've done our job.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's why I like being on the other side of it now. I don't have to do you need to pass your exams and you. I can be on the other side again. It's fine.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Yeah, you can resit them at college. Yeah, you can sit and read later in life as well. You can do. That's kind of like let's look at you.
I know someone who retrained in podiatry at the age of like 35 after I was like.
I think there was some statistic I read a while ago that sort of young people who are in school and leaving school now will have up to 10 changes of job and career in their lifetimes, because there's jobs that haven't even been invented yet. That they're going to end up doing when they're in their 40s and 50s.
Which is essentially what's happened with me and Kirsty. So EMHP wasn't invented when we were in school.
Nursery nurse, I started off as.
Yeah, I also worked in nursery for a little while. Yeah. I was an early years teacher for a while, and then I think a lot of times, especially at sort of GCSE times, having to pick their options and be like, what are you going to do?
Oh no, is this going to change my life?
What are you going to do? And you're like, yeah, it will affect you and you're going to be in it. So, but actually it's not the end of the world. You've got so many options that you could be, that you don't have to pick it at 14.
Yeah.
I think it's that really important thing as well, is like, when you say that, we're not undermining it at all. What you're feeling is really, really important at the moment. And that is, absolutely, it does feel big, because that's the biggest thing for you at that moment in time.
It's a huge decision at that age to be put on you. And I think there should be more of kind of just pick things you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, your GCSE is really important because it's the thing that gets you to your next step. But then that next step, whether it's A-levels or whether it's college course, whatever it is you want to do, is then your stepping stone to the next thing. So the sort of the ones go back. So it's not like if you go, oh God, but I didn't pick history and now I want... It's fine. You've got a grade in you've got a humanity. There we go. It's just, I think, we need to be a bit broader.
Yeah.
Okay, moving back to sort of like the environment and different stuff, and we've mentioned that actually can be quite a loud environment, quite a busy environment. What's the difference between like anxiety and social anxiety?
See, it's like anxiety is kind of an umbrella term. There's lots of different types. So we sort of generally work social anxiety. We might have generalised anxiety. We might have sort of separation anxiety. So there's lots of different types. Yeah, phobias, like loads of different types of it. So social anxiety, it kind of, it's the same thing, isn't it? It like focuses in on that kind of the worry about being in those social situations of, am I going to do something embarrassing? Are people looking at me? Are people judging me? What are people thinking about me?
Yeah.
So particularly in a school environment, when you are surrounded by people who you don't necessarily know all of them, and, there's noise and people look around and people are doing things. And if you are feeling that way and you just, someone happens to, as you're looks in your direction, then it can be really difficult to then try and not listen to them. They're looking at me. What are they saying about me? Oh, now they've laughed. And it can be really hard, distressing to deal with.
And I think one of the things of anxiety is with a lot of different disorders, you'll have like low mood, but then clinically you'll have depression.
Yeah.
Whereas with anxiety, we tend to use the word anxiety for both daily anxieties. Like, it's really natural and healthy to be anxious.
Well, it's
like if you were never anxious again, it'd be, you wouldn't revise for your exams if you were a little bit anxious.
This is what I wanted to kind of come on to. It's like, what is then, like, how can we separate, like, anxiety, social anxiety to nerves for an exam? Because, let's say for a job interview, my dad's getting a hell of a lot of credit in this. Shout
Get him on the
shout
phone.
out, go Vic. Cut that, Chris. So like he was always saying, if you're going for a job interview, it's good to be nervous because it means you want it. Yeah. You want to get the job. Otherwise, you probably not going to prepare enough. So how do we kind of separate it and realise whether or not it's a bigger issue actually at play here versus actually just real human emotion of, do you know what? If I'm standing on top of a building, I'm going to feel nervous, I'm going to fall off. Yeah. Or I've got an exam coming up, I'm feeling nervous. Yeah. How do we? Where's the line almost? I mean, the line's very blurred.
I was going to say, it's not quite that.
No.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite a line.
Yeah.
It's more of like a roller coaster, isn't it? But I think one thing is to understand that good mental health isn't being happy all the time. It's feeling a wide range of emotions and being able to come back to feeling okay. And I think sometimes people expect to just never feel anxious, never feel sad, but it's part of being a human. But it's when that anxiety is stopping you from doing things. Yeah. So if you were so anxious about that job interview, you just decide not to go.
Yeah.
Then it's probably affecting you more than it should.
Yeah.
Or if you decide you can't socialise, you can't do anything else but, research into that job, look on the website, seeing everything. And
how are you going to get there?
Yeah, sort of over preparing for it. Because there's a level of preparing.
Yeah.
Right, I'll need to give myself an hour to get there. But if you then being like, right, a couple of days before I'll practice getting there, and then it's not too much, isn't it?
I'm trying to think of something really amazing to add, but that's pretty much that kind of. If it's momentarily, it's passing. It's within a situation like you're about to walk into your exams. Of course, you're going to be like, you're about to go for a job test. You're driving, all of these things. Even going to a new situation of like walking, even like here today.
Yeah,
we got out the car and it's a little bit like, whoop.
I'm in the right place.
That's not that's okay. And it's like Emily says, it can be helpful. It kind of focuses your mind a little bit more when it needs to be. But if it is stuff like you say, you're stopping doing things, you're avoiding things, you're stopping things. This is when it's becoming more prevalent, and it could be a sign of something sort of bigger going on.
And that's where
physical symptoms as well. If you're getting quite extreme, the sort of stomach ache.
I was going to say,
those kind of things.
If you're nervous before an exam and you've got to go do a nervous wee beforehand, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
I do a nervous wee before I go on a long car journey because I don't want to wee myself. Like, versus actually, if you're throwing up the night before for weeks before, like, because you're like so overwhelmed.
You can't sleep, your brain's constantly
It's probably when you need to probably got to talk to you guys or like somebody who you trust in that sort of situation.
One of the things that we do, so if you were to do direct work with us, one of the first things we do is, we call it an assessment, which sounds very like formal, but it's not.
It's scary.
But it's more of just a chat about their mental health and
You can't
well-being.
pass or fail that assessment.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mental health, well-being, seeing how they are at the moment, what support they've had, and whether, CBT is right for them. They might not, think it's right for them. We might not be. It's a bit of a conversation, a dialogue. But one thing we do is called a 5 areas formulation, which we ask them if there's been a situation, perhaps recently, where they felt particularly anxious, particularly low, particularly, having poor mental health. And then we break that down into their thoughts, their body sensations, their emotions, and their behaviours, and sort of really looking at that cycle and then seeing how we can how it all links together. So it is like, I had an exam coming up and I couldn't sleep, I was throwing up. Okay, so what were you thinking? And different bits are hard for different people. I always really struggle to know what I was thinking in a situation. My mind's just gone, but I can be like, all right, well, physically I was doing this, and then my behaviours, I avoided it. I was just, I sat on the toilet even though nothing was happening. I just didn't want to leave the bathroom. Oh, actually, when I was thinking that, I was thinking I don't want to leave. And then you can really break down just, it might have just been 10 minutes of your life, but looking at it and then be like, okay, so next time, what could we maybe so what would happen if you left the bathroom?
And it comes back to what you were kind of saying earlier, is how can we be aware of what it is that we're thinking? And like you say, it takes practice, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a massive skill. It's not. I always say to young people, if it's easy, because you talk to young people and you're like, just do this. Have you tried just going outside? And they're like, I know
the old bath and tea cliche, which I hear.
Feel if it was easy, you'd be doing it. And it's not easy. And for some people, it will look easy, but for some things you do will be easy, and they will find it really difficult.
And that's half the battle. Is I'm probably 12 years on from when I started to struggle with my mental health, and still struggle. I'm still learning that certain things trigger me more than others, and actually I'm getting different triggers to different things at different points. But it's going back to what you said earlier, about in terms of coming back to that, in certain situations, it's going to be up and down in that. But I mean, you can do mood journals if you want to. You can do kind of diaries, or you can actually just kind of go back to that thought to court sort of stuff. Ask yourself, okay, am I okay today? Or actually, is it a bit different to yesterday? Okay, the sun was shining yesterday. Oh, it's shining now. But it was a bit more miserable yesterday.
Yeah.
Actually, is that put an impact on my mood? There's lots of different things that play.
Even scoring your day. That's when I was especially towards the end of sessions, going, just get into this habit. I do it myself. Emily say I can be a bit of a grump, can't I?
And that's okay.
Kind of and it is of going oh, right. Do you know what? Today was a 5 out of 10. It was absolutely pants. But then when you go, oh, actually, but there's that really funny thing happened, and that kid said that really cute thing to me at school, and you start to get kind of that ability to reflect and balance things a little bit. I know I found that really, really helpful.
And sometimes not weighing that bad thing that someone said with that good thing that someone said, and almost they're going, oh, I'm not going to think of anything of the good things just because actually this one bad thing happened and spiral because of that, potentially. That makes sense. So how do you guys then survive in the wild? What are the things that you do on a day-to-day to sort of manage your own mental health? Because you're human too.
Yeah,
I guess.
Allegedly. I think especially with our team, we have a really good, I know loads of people say that, but we generally do have a really good team. We are really good at supporting each other and helping each other out. And I think from that, we can be quite honest with each other. So we have morning huddle, and it's always a quick check in on what you're doing today. But actually, if someone goes, you know what, I'm just having a really bad day. I'm not feeling great. People will, there'll be little messages coming going, you okay? Do you need anything? Do you want help with anything today? And I think that as an ethos is really nice. I think personally, I like being outside. I'm not I want to go walking up mountains and stuff, just genuinely.
Not whittling sticks on this podcast. Yeah. So when I said it was surviving the wild, we were like, oh no, what's going on?
I ain't going tracking. I lost my dog recently, but normally it would have been that kind of even if it's just a little poodle around the block, it doesn't have to be a big walk, or, just literally, even when it's dark outside at night, it's a bit weird, but I just quite like just sit, fresh air, calm, work through things in my head. I'm not someone who asks for help a lot, which isn't necessarily, it's not a good thing, but I am quite good at working through things, that problem solving we're talking about. And then if I do need to go, actually, do you know what, I need to talk to Emily about that tomorrow. I need to talk to someone else about that, or, that kind of thing, I think works for me. But
yeah, I think I'm quite a big communicator, and when I was younger, I wasn't. I'd be quite internal and keep all my thoughts to myself, and then sort of occasionally explode. But I think as I've gotten older, I've learnt the skill of telling people what I need. Because you can ask for help from people, but there's different sort of helps you need. So my partner was quite terrible for it. I'd come and complain about my day, and then he'd try and give me solutions to all my problems. I'd be like,
that doesn't sound like something I would do at all.
I was like, I had such a busy day. It's like, why don't you talk to... I was like, no, just let me
rant.
Yeah.
I just need you to complain, and then could you please give me a hug, and then make me a drink, or could you get me I was just going to say a cup of tea, because that's what you get people. But
you don't drink tea.
I like a green tea.
Why is no one coming on the videos and drinking tea? That's I'm the only one sat here with a massive flask of tea.
I haven't got the giant thing of Vimto,
but yeah, so communicating what my needs are from people rather than expecting them, because I think we do expect people to respond how we want them to. Sort of letting them
psychically not know what's wrong with me because I'm not telling you.
But then also trying to do the boring, more self-care things. So as kids, so getting myself outside, getting some steps in, because a lot of our job, we are based inside a school, so you do find from just before 9 till 3:30, I've not left the building. I've not had fresh air, going home and having a decent meal and not just grazing. It's not perfect every day, but trying to make sure my basic needs have been met throughout that day, and then thinking of anything positive that's happened.
If you could, if say every student across North Yorkshire and Humber were listening to this, right. What would it be? If you could want to hear something about if they were struggling in school at the minute, or even if they weren't necessarily struggling at school at the minute, what are the things that you would like them to hear coming from people who work in mental health in schools?
Oh, that's a big question.
It is a biggie.
I think just that you can do it. You've done it so far, you can keep doing it, and it's not forever. I don't think the school environment is fit for everyone. It's a square pegs and round holes sort of situation. And when you're in school for, up to year 11, that's 11 years, not including reception, potentially nursery. And it's been your whole life, because how many memories can you remember before 3? It's a whole...
I can't remember what I did yesterday.
It's a whole existence of trying to think about the future and what life is going to be like. It's so difficult. But just knowing that there is a future and that they can do it, and they will one day look back on school. And it may not be wholly positive memories, but there'll probably be a couple in there. But yeah, you can do it. You can do it. I believe in you.
Kirsty? Emily's was really good.
Thanks.
But no, I think I agree. And I'm someone who really, really struggled with my mental health in school. And it was at a time when it wasn't really, people didn't really consider that young people could have problems with their mental health. It was what have you got to be anxious and sort of low about? And I think sort of to echo Emily, it gets better. There is a whole wide world of things and opportunities out there. And it's just about finding your people, your interests, pursuing those. And it sounds really cliche, but talking. To just think, we are a lot better about talking about mental health and talking amongst each other than we used to be. But don't hold on to it. Don't think you've got to manage it on your own. Even the members of staff that you think hate you actually have an interest in you being okay and you doing well. And find the person who's your person in school. Go and tell them you're struggling. If you've got the wellbeing in mind team or the school wellbeing service, or there's different services doing similar things. That's why we're here. That's why we've been created to help. Because the help's out there and you deserve it.
And on that, some people do feel anxious about accessing support in school and accessing support in that school environment because of potential things that have happened in school before. I don't know, like, and so even if it's not within the school environment, who's outside of school? Is there a coach? Is there a I mean, we talked about youth people not being a massive youth provision anymore, but is there a parent? Is there a friend? Is there a trusted adult in your life that you kind of go, actually, I need to just tell someone?
Yeah.
Because that's really important. Just my 50p on it. Although I've had about £4.80 at the minute. Things do change. You start to get a little bit more autonomy. When you leave school, you get to make a few more decisions. We mentioned earlier that actually a lot of your day is decided by school and like by teachers and by other people, and actually like that's really annoying. Like, and then actually you leave school, you may get a job, you may move into your own place, you may get them abilities to actually to choose what you have for dinner. Like, I don't know, Cocoa Pops, which I've done on many occasions because I'm now an adult and I can do that and I'm allowed. And so I think there is that struggling in school, and it's understanding who you can talk to, who you can speak to about it, doing the simple things which Emily mentioned in terms of keeping your wealth day to day. But also the whole point of this is go back to, if you try and find support in your area, here are all the resources, and that's why this has been created. Thank you very much, guys, for coming on the channel. I feel so old saying that. I just don't feel natural to.
It's been really nice. I
go
enjoyed it.
full YouTube. Subscribe,
Like, comment, subscribe.
please, guys. If this has kind of helped you, or anyone, please give it a like, give it a subscribe, and all that jazz. Because ultimately, we're out just here trying to help other people and share it with your friends.
Can we also plug that Wellbeing in Mind team has an Instagram?
Yes.
Absolutely can.
Uses Instagram.
I will add that in the below things. But yeah, all the resources that should be there in the link below. But thank you guys for coming on, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers. I usually throw out my tea into there because at the end of it, it's cold. I do that.
Underlines loving it.
Honestly, I did that in the first intro video because I must have sat here for about an hour with the same cup of tea, and I was by the end I just went
Just because then the kids will be like, no, the guy loves his tea. That's one.
the weird
The tea lobber.
Hope you found some value in that, whatever we've just dribbled on about for the last 45 minutes or whatever. But ultimately, like I said, it's all about finding you the support. So that's why the link is below. You can go click on it, or you might have the other videos flying around at some point here. But as the thing that YouTubers, people say, like, share and subscribe. But ultimately, pass it on to a friend, pass it on to a family member, pass it on to someone that you might know that's struggling, because ultimately we're out here just trying to help other people, and we're not trying to sell you anything, we're not trying to get anything out of it other than bettering mental health for young people and the people that support them. So if you can do that, then great. Thanks, guys.